Morning, everybody. May the 5th. What is it, Tuesday? Hard to keep track of days when we're locked up and life isn't going as normal, isn't it? Chapter number 5 in the book of Proverbs is where we're starting today. So if you got your Bible handy, go ahead and open it there. Proverbs chapter number 5. Again, we're going through a chapter of Proverbs a day that correlates with the day of the month. There are 31 chapters in Proverbs, and there are 31 days in the month of May. So it's going to work out perfectly, right? And after the end of May, if anyone's interested, maybe we'll continue this. Maybe we'll be done. We'll just see how it goes. Proverbs 5, Proverbs 5, 6, and 7 all deal with the subject of the strange woman. And remember the context of the book. It's Solomon teaching his son Rehoboam about life. So if you had Bathsheba teaching a daughter about life, she wouldn't be talking about the strange woman. She'd be talking about the strange man. And ladies, that strange man isn't your husband. It's just the man who's up to no good, okay? So Proverbs 5, remember that. Keep it in context. You can flip this in terms of the sexes, male and female, either way. Young men ought to watch out for the wrong kind of lady, woman. Young ladies ought to be careful and watch out for the wrong kind of young man. Two of the most important decisions that we'll ever make in our lives. Number one is salvation, deciding whether or not to accept Jesus Christ as our personal Savior, put our faith in Him for salvation. That's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. The second most important decision isn't where you go to college. It's not where you go to work. It's not what you're going to do with your life. It's not how you handle your money. Truly, the most important decision aside from salvation is who you decide to marry, who you decide to spend the rest of your life with. It's a real challenge because we tend to make that decision in life when we have the least amount of experience and knowledge and wisdom to do so. Wise young people will get the opinions and maybe even allow their parents or trusted guardians veto power. I remember dating a few different young ladies when before I was married, of course, and I was always interested in hearing the people I trusted and their opinions of those individuals. And when I had called home and told my parents that I was dating Shannon and that we were getting serious and I was considering asking her to marry me, I wanted to know, what did my mom and dad think? And of course, they gave the green light there, and we went ahead and got married. And this coming June, it will be 26 years that she has linked her life with mine and I with her, and it's been a joy for sure. But let's get into Proverbs 5, verse number 1. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding. There's a little bit of humility spoken of there, isn't there? Bow thine ear. Not just listen to me, but why don't you hear what I'm saying and submit to what I'm saying? That thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. And then here we go in verse number 3, the description of this strange woman, this young lady who's up to no good. She's not the marrying kind, if you get my drift. She's not the kind of young woman you want to bring home to mom and dad, nor would this be the kind of young man a young lady would want to bring home to mom or dad. For the lips of a strange woman drop as an honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. So we'd call that individual a smooth talker, right? Someone who is able to persuade and convince people to do things just by virtue of the way they speak to them. And when it comes to seduction and the wrong kind of young woman, the wrong kind of young man, trying to convince a godly young person to get together with them, to start dating, then they're going to know exactly what to say. They're going to know how to talk. For that matter, Even with married couples, when that homewrecker enters the scene, they're going to play the role of a Jonadab. You remember Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab. And so they're going to, why do you let him treat you like that? Why do you let him talk to you that way? Why do you let her get away with those things? And they're going to plant those kind of seeds in people's minds to get them thinking so that they can someday, the party that means ill, sweep in and disrupt that relationship. So you got to watch the way people talk to you. And I tell you, the devil uses flattery to get to our egos and to help us. It's pretty amazing how some, middle-aged or even older-aged man who's balding with a big pot belly, but you let the wrong woman come up and say, how attractive she finds him, and that guy will fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. All he's got to do is look in the mirror and see that she's just feeding him a line so that she can reel him in and get from him what she wants from him. But men fall for it all the time. Women fall for it all the time. You've got to watch out and have some discernment, as verse 2 said, some discretion. Verse number 4. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. So this may start out flattering. This may begin boosting your ego, but it's not going to end well. It's going to end with death. Verse 5. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. Is that she will make your life a living hell. She is going to ruin your life, destroy your relationships, ruin your reputation. We'll get to it. I think it's in chapter 6 where it says that adultery is that one sin where the reputation never goes away. Once you're pegged as an adulterer, that badge never leaves you. It's like the Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter. And so she'll ruin your life. Verse 6. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst know him. So this is the kind of woman that's going to constantly be moving the goalposts on you as well. You look at Samson and Delilah. What's happening here with this scenario? Samson, tell me the secret to your strength. And Samson says, I'm not going to do that. And so he feeds her a lie, tells her a mistruth, so that he doesn't lose his strength because of Delilah. And so he goes to sleep. She does what he says, binds him in fresh vines and different things like that. And when the Philistines come in, he's able to break free. And the thing about this is Samson is playing the fool because he knows she wants the secret to his strength. And every time he tells her a story that's not true, he finds that she tried to sabotage him. She tried to set him up. And he keeps laying his head in her lap and he keeps falling for it. Then she begins to cry. And Lord help us, men. You got to have a little bit of a backbone to not bend simply because a woman starts the waterworks. In fact, I guess, ladies, we'll have to flip that because we live in a generation where we've got some very soft beta males, don't we? And they might try that same thing. I'm only going down this road because I just read yesterday an article written by a man saying that if you've not just broken down into tears throughout this coronavirus, you just must be cold-hearted and not have any compassion. And I that's a bit ridiculous because I've not yet broken down into tears over this coronavirus thing, and that's not to say that I don't have compassion or that things don't move me to weep and to shed tears, but a little inconvenience is certainly not one of those things. And so, men, she'll use tears on you. Ladies, I guess he'll use tears on you too to try to manipulate you. And the continual moving of the goalposts, this if you just do these things, I'll be happy. Then you start doing that. Well, now I need this in order to be happy. And so it's a never-ending cycle. Verse 7, hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. He's really stressing the importance of what he's teaching. Verse 8, remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. He says, don't even entertain the idea of this woman. Don't even begin to flirt with her. Don't even begin to entertain the idea of going out with her. She's bad news. She's going to ruin your life. Stay away from her. Where are we at again? Verse 8, remove thy way far from her. Come not nigh the door of her house. Don't even go. You know what? Don't even have her as a friend on social media. In fact, probably a good idea to block her. You don't even want to go down that road. Maybe block her from your page and so forth. How many marriages have been ruined because of social media? Folks reconnecting with people that they knew in their past, and they have those nostalgic feelings maybe of teenage and high school relationships that are based nothing in reality or the adult world. Verse number 9, lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. So if you, what he's saying is, the more likely you are to flirt with this person, the more likely you are to end up with them, and in the end it's going to cost you honor and years. Now what does that mean? It means that the relationship is going to blow apart because you're not going to be able to make it work. This type of person is toxic, and it's not going to come together the way you think that it is. And years under the cruel, that's called alimony. That's called child support. That's called time in court. That's called restraining orders. All of the struggle that results from a failed relationship with the wrong kind of person, you're going to pay the price for it. Verse number 10, lest strangers be filled with thy wealth. That's your divorce attorney, That's the counsel for your ex. Let's see, that was just half of the verse. Lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. In other words, you're going to get up every morning, go off to work, and that paycheck you earn, or at least a portion of it, is going to go to help that lawyer put a new underground swimming pool in at their house, right? Verse 11, and thou mourn at the last when thy flesh and thy body are consumed. So you're going to spend your whole life laboring and working just to get out of the result of this bad relationship. It's not worth it. It's better to dwell alone with a dinner of herbs than in the wrong scenario with a feast being thrown. The Bible, it's not verbatim for sure, but elsewhere in Proverbs we'll see that. Verse 12, and say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. So what he's saying is here, it's regret, it's remorse. I can't believe I should have known better. I've been taught better. And that's what seduction will do, right? It'll cause us to go against everything that we know to do. Seduction will lead us astray. It'll cause us to go on the wrong path. So here's the alternative. Verse 15 through the end of the chapter. We've just got 8 more verses here. This is how to do it properly. Now, the first half of the chapter, this is not what you want to do. The strange woman that seduces you, or the strange man, I want us to keep that in mind for sure. This is how to do it right. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. So this will get a little PG-13, so hang in there with us. But this means find your pleasure at home. Don't turn to someone else outside of your marriage, outside your relationship, to find physical pleasure, to find emotional satisfaction, to find a boost of the ego. And this is why married couples ought to continue to do, once they're married, what they did before they ever got married. Keep flirting with each other, keep teasing with each other, keep going on dates and spending time together. Do nice little things for one another. And your focus then will be on the right place and not somewhere else where it ought to be. So drink waters out of your own cistern. Stay home. Get your satisfaction. Get your pleasure there. Verse 17, let them be only thine own and not strangers with thee. Something else that's important about marriage is keep your business at home. Men who go off to work and complain about their wives are really unwise in doing so. Ladies who get together with their group of friends or they go to work and then they're critical of their husband, that's really foolish. In fact, you don't know what other ears are listening. Or how about this? You go off to work and you complain to the guys about the wife at home, and then one of those guys strikes up a conversation with another lady who doesn't mean well, doesn't have good intentions at work. She finds out that you seem unhappy, and now she's going to try to move in. And you can flip that same thing. Ladies, the wrong kind of man will try to do the very same thing if he finds out you're unhappy at home. So stop complaining about your spouse. How about this? Take the same energy that you'd put into complaining and griping about them and put it into making your marriage better, making the relationship stronger. Verse number 18, let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. So 15 down through 19 has been get your satisfaction at home. And by the way, the verse 16, thy fountains be dispersed abroad. Satisfy each other as often as necessary. Take care of each other's needs. Make sure that everyone in the relationship is satisfied, given the time that they need, given the physical satisfaction that they need. Don't hold back, and God help us, don't use intimacy or sex as a weapon to get back at your spouse. Don't withhold in order to prove a point. That's not helpful. It's childish, actually. And so we need to be on the same page. And if your marriage is the kind where you're playing those kind of games, you just need to grow up and be an adult man, be an adult woman, and honor the vows that you made to that person. This isn't about, making sure you get what's coming to you. It's about making sure you're giving the other person what you promised you would do when you married that person. Next, verse 19. So now Solomon's going to ask, some hypotheticals. Verse 20, I'm sorry. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. So he's saying, why would you go to a stranger for satisfaction? You're not going to get it there. There's no relationship. You might enjoy the physical act, but you're not going to get anything out of it beyond that. What's the point? Go find a woman, just as God said, man shall leave his father and his mother, cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Go find you a woman and hook onto her, and the woman find a man and hook onto him, and make each other your lives. Shannon and I were talking yesterday. We had our date yesterday, and we were talking about how we've built a life that is nearly impenetrable by outsiders. I mean, I have accountability to her, and she has to me that's unparalleled. And part of it is because we're one flesh. She'll often take my telephone and just scroll through the texts and see what's going on, and I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. I can do the same with her as well, and we're open books. My Facebook account completely public. I haven't blocked anybody, locked anyone out. Anybody who just wants to log on can see everything that I put out there, and I've got nothing to hide. And when you've got nothing to hide, you don't have anything to worry about. Verse number 21 said, "For the eyes of man are before the ways. I'm sorry, the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his going." So God's paying attention to what you're doing. God's paying attention to how you're behaving. God sees that little flirtation with the coworker and that kind of thing, and he's not going to be pleased with it. He's not going to bless it. Verse 22, his own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. I say this in church a lot. I think we give the devil too much credit sometimes. Now, to be sure, he goeth about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. At the same time, we cause as much trouble for ourselves as the devil ever does. And so we're holding with the cords of our own sins. You don't have anybody to blame. When you know what to do and you can see the danger, remember chapter 1, surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. When you know what the danger is and you intentionally put yourself there, your feet do draw nigh to the door of her house. You're just asking for trouble. Verse 23, he shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. No one respects the man who's the womanizer, who can't contain himself and can't just settle down with the wife of his youth and live out their years together. Same thing for women. You know, these older women that try to dress like teenagers and try to carry on with younger men, they just look foolish. It's a bit of a game, and boy, it's pretty negative here. I guess I'm getting down on some things today, but boy, I just long for the day when people had integrity and character and honor and carried themselves with dignity, rather than acting a fool and falling for the world's lies and the lures of the devil. All right, on that happy, joyous note, I'll let you go. About 25 minutes these things have been running. I appreciate you sticking with me, and we'll get back together again tomorrow, kind of around this time. This seems to be what's working for my schedule. We're up early, but I've got things that I have to do first and foremost and take care of, and then we get on here with you. But have a happy Tuesday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless you.